Now, here we have target canvas waypoints, target canvas. It doesn't actually matter what you call these or what order they're in on here. What you have is a sort order. So when you look at a canvas, it has this sort order. Higher number means it's in terms of layers of canvases. These are all screen space canvases you add here. And the higher number comes to the front and the lower number goes to the rear. So if one has, if you put a splash page on it and you put it right at the front, it would overlay everything. Or if you put a page at the back, it would back everything. That kind of... the sort order is whether it's in front or behind, which is what we're going to look at in a minute. Here I've got them both set to 0. You can use sorting or you don't use sorting. Okay, so let's see this running. What I've got to do is, I think most of them are set to 0. I think I've got everything rigged to 0 here. This canvas index here on the targets here, and on the cube health you have a pop-up launcher and a target, and they both have canvas indexes. Now if I set this to 1, it will use canvas index 1. So we're referring to the elements here. You can move these around. Element 0, that's the index 0 and that's the index 1. Okay, so the pop-up canvas is 1. So let's just have a look at this kind of random sort order. They're both set to 0. So it's kind of like, if you look at it, you see like, okay, so the pop-ups are in front anyway. I did set them to use these. You've got naught and you've got target canvas, but they're both set to 0 really. I mean, if I set this to -100 while it's running, can you see from the stars that they've now gone behind everything, and the numbers will be behind everything else? So let's try and get some different angles. The numbers are now pushed back. You can see that behind everything that is using the other canvas. Because we've set pop-up canvas to use -100 behind everything, and target canvas is using sort order 0. Okay, and if we change that round, this is just how canvases normally work. Now we've got the stars are in front of the other UI. Can you see that? Because we put it to the front, it's a higher number in the sort order. Get some good views of, the numbers are now on top of everything. That's kind of what you can do with these. When it loads up, what Display Manager does is it will overwrite whatever is on these canvases in terms of sort order. It will be overwritten by Display Manager based on these numbers. So by setting this 10, what I'm saying is put the pop-up canvas to sort order 10 when it runs. So we should actually be able to see that. You see at 10, it's kind of initialized it to 10, and this is still at 0. So this is that same. Just put the numbers in front of everything. The pop-up launcher, pop-up target, anything that uses canvas 1 here will now be at the front. Okay, the second stage is to look at the sorting. So what have we got? We've got all these markers, the black spheres, and we've got the moving player Roger, or NPC Roger. So let's have a look. What's going on now? Look, Roger, I think he was in front of everything then, but he technically is behind it, so he's furthest away from the camera. He's definitely further away than that sphere, but his UI is overlapping the sphere, so that's in 3D. Now, to actually make these work, these kind of initialize only on startup of the editor at the moment. So what we're saying is we're putting the target canvas, which is the waypoints that the NPC are using, this canvas index 0. We're saying use sorting of all the objects on that canvas. Is kind of negligible with 3 of them, the performance hit. But now what you should find is that everything on that, whilst, can you see the waypoint that is nearest to us, it does go over the 3D object because the entire canvas is in front of the object. So it's not occluding the UI. The UI is printing kind of, if you think of a cell in front of all the 3D world, that's what a canvas is really. So it's going to be in front of the 3D objects, but as it is further away, its UI goes to the back, and vice versa. If we were behind this object, it will now be in front. Its UI now goes to the front because it's nearer to the camera. Yeah, so that's how that works. You've got the sorting. The other things you can do are a bit more complicated. What I had was a third target canvas. I've got target canvas, so I've got target canvas for the waypoint. So this is technically setting up element 2. Then you can go to canvas index of the waypoints, set that to 2. Now they use that third canvas. The complications here are that, say I have it set to a sort order of 20. What you should find is that these remain at the front. These waypoints are now, say you want some quest markers, you want to just be in front of everything. These now are, see, regardless of the sorting of the NPC layer, if we had more NPCs, it might be more relevant. So we'd double up Roger. So these are being sorted. So you got these different canvases. So where's other Roger? Oh, sorry. You have to separate the Rogers. Else it won't make sense very much. Let's try and get them to overlap. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so we've got 2 Rogers. What we should find is that the Rogers are sorted with regards to each other now. Try and line them up so that the near Roger, his UI is in front of the rear Roger, if that makes sense. We could rename them with different initializers if we wanted to. Just for the reference, so you know what I'm saying. It's kind of like maybe this guy David or something on his initializer. Okay. So with reference to Roger and David, what you find is that, again, that's the way we've rigged this up. The waypoints are always coming to the front, your quest markers or whatever. You may want to do the reverse, that's up to you in a game, but in this example, they're going to be in front of everything. So we're trying to look to get these 2 lined up together. Can you see the nearest one? His UI, David's UI in this at the moment is in front. Alright, definitely you can see that as he is nearer, his UI is in front of Roger's. But if we reverse the camera angle so that we're with Roger in front of David, Roger's should now be in front of David's, which it is. That's to do with the target, the sorting order, the sorting algorithm running on that canvas only. I mean, this is rigged with billboards. You get this kind of behavior anyway. The reason it exists as an option is so that if you turn it off, you save yourself a bit of performance because it doesn't have to sort them. But here, it's always sorting, and you can see that the waypoints remain in front of them. To set the waypoints behind them, we can take the target canvas waypoints on the display manager and set it to something like -20, so push it to the back. Now you will find the numbers remain on top of everything. The 2 NPCs are always in front of these waypoints regardless of 3D position. You see that now? They're now in front of them. The UI will always be in front of the... Get that to line up so we can see it. Let's go lower on this one. Different angle. Looking up. There we go. So the NPCs are now always at the front, but sorted with regards to each other. And the numbers always in front. So anyway, that's kind of how it all works. There's a bit more complexity that when these sort, they're sorted in terms of an order number going backwards, going down. So it's subtracted from the sort order of the canvas for each element. So technically you got I am David and I'm Roger. 0 and 1. You can actually see them here on the target. These two. You see their sort orders are changing. Yeah, it's creating a negative number to sort backwards from there. Now these numbers are all relative to the canvas sort order. Yeah, so you got the pop-ups popping up on there. Oh, one of the pop-ups, because there were two pop-ups. One of the pop-ups is the pop-up panel. The robo numbers are still on that same panel. By the way, you can see that here. So it's yeah, it's actually quite tricky to visualize with all the pop-ups going as well. Where the cube's order is much simpler if both of their pop-ups, because there's a nested pop-up here, the cube robo. These are the robo numbers. If these are also set to canvas index 2, so that now, because they're different pop-up launchers for the different numbers there. Canvas index 1, oh sorry, these should be canvas index 1 for the pop-up. So now all the numbers are on canvas 1, which is the pop-up index here. So they're all on, the numbers are all at the front always. Given the current structure, the waypoints are always at the back. What I'm trying to explain, as long as there aren't 20 Roger or David's NPCs, because if we look at the target canvas here, you can see the sort order is either 0 or -1, depending on which cube is at the front, nearest to the camera. Yeah, because that's kind of how the algorithm works. It takes the order of the elements, targets, or pop-up launcher display objects within that canvas. Here there are 2, so it's either 0 or -1, because it's either index 0 the front or -1 the back. You know, the last out of 2 is -1. If I had a third, another David, say, what you will see is 3, and then you will get 0, -1, -2 out of these. See, you look 0, -1, -2, depending on the order of the NPCs. One is literally just on top of the other, and it's saying one is nearer. So again, space them out. So it's ordering these NPCs. It's not ordering the waypoints at the moment. But, you know, you can see that the nearest UI, the nearest cube's UI is on top of the furthest cube's UI. This should be pretty obvious now. If you get all 3 in a line, I don't think they will, because the way their movement's synced. But this nearer cube should have its UI in front of this cube. And then the nearest cube should be in front of both of them. It's a bit hard to see that all in line. I'd have to rig them up all in a line. The waypoints technically are behind all the NPCs now. they're not actually ordered. So what you may find, yeah, look here, the nearest one, its sphere is behind the back one. That's up to you. If you want to switch it on here, so now the waypoints canvas, see it starts at -20. Just an aside, what I was trying to explain is that the NPCs on the target canvas, element 0, are going to count backwards from 0. So when they're at 20, it will actually start overlapping. So that's why I'd rather start these at -200. So now you can have 200 NPCs. And the NPCs will always, as long as they're less than 200, will be in front of these the waypoints. So it doesn't really matter what this number is. It's more like a reference to number of items than any distance or anything like that. So now the waypoints will always be behind the NPCs, but you should find there that the waypoints themselves are ordered with regards to each other. Can you see that? Yeah, the nearest waypoint UI is going to be to the front, yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to line up through, but you can see that's working. The occlusion there of the transparent wall is kind of switching off the spheres sometimes, but you can see with the UI. So that's kind of how these work. The pop-up canvases are all going to have a sort. They're not even overridden sorting because they're not set to sort here. Yeah, they just all use the parent canvas, the pop-up canvas. You know, the pop-up canvas, it uses that sort order there. It's not going to override the sorting at all. So everything on all the numbers, etc., their overlap of each other is kind of it probably in order of spawning. It's to do with the hierarchical order of these, but because they're not sorted, it doesn't really matter. The first one pops up. I think later ones come on top of it. Basically the spawn soonest goes to the front. You know, the last spawn goes to the front, the old ones go to the back, that kind of thing. Just want to show an example of these counting back from 200, -200. If we looked at the marker clones here, you can see quite clearly -200, 202, the furthest away, probably this one, and this, the nearest, this middle one here, you can see that's the UI. So yeah, just to show that that's all going to be counting back from these numbers here in terms of order if sorting is on.